Hi, this is Lori from Shoo Shoo Paper Art, and I'm back with a third installment of ideas for those little mini flower stamps that you have. So let's start with this one. All right, so you know from the previous videos that you can tell from the butterfly that this is just randomly stamped. The butterfly is from Life is Beautiful, one of the dies from Paper Tray Ink. And the inks are these beautiful fresh inks from Impress Stamps. This one's called Lemonade, let's see, Pink Lemonade. And stamped with, what's this one? French Lavender. And this dusty blue is Sicillian blue. And then there is these little dots, and that is from the same set that I used before, the enveloper. These little dots are perfect for filling in, and those are with the celery ink. The flower that I used on this one is from Garden Gild from Paper Tray Ink. This little bitty stamp up here is the one that I used. It was perfect for this butterfly. For the interest of time, I've already stamped this one. You can see that it's just randomly stamped, no rhyme or reason. And you could leave it just like this and put it on the card. It would be really pretty, just like that. But I thought it might be fun to incorporate some distress inks. And this made such a pretty, dreamy look that I thought it was really fun. So, this is milled lavender distress ink. Just a really pretty lavender that really makes it just look a little dreamy, which I thought was fun. And I'm using my makeup brushes to just do the edges. Isn't that pretty? I just think it's so pretty and soft. What a lovely color. And I'm just doing around the edges, and this little brush is really ideal for that. It really helps me just kind of stay on the very edges of the butterfly. And I'm going to go ahead and do the antenna as well. Okay, there, that's simple. All right, I need to clean up my area a little bit, and then we'll look at the rest of the card. Okay, so the base of this card is 4 1/8 by 4 3/8. And then there's a little panel on top that's 4 by 4. To make the plaid on the panel, that is a very pretty stencil from the Stamp Market. Isn't that pretty? I just love it. Of course, you know I love plaid, so this was right up my alley. I wanted to just put it on one side, really not all the way to the middle. So, just going to tape that down. Now on the finished card, I actually used the French lavender on that. You could also use the milled lavender distress ink, which I think I'll do on this one, and we can just look at the difference. That's pretty. I like that. It's so soft. That is really pretty. All right, so the next part of this card, I'm not sure how well you can see it here in the video, is this really pretty inlaid die that's here on the panel. And this is just really lovely. I just got it. It's called Inverted Stitch Scallop Circles from Pink Fresh Studio. Isn't that pretty? It just looks gorgeous on the card. So I just took the scalloped pieces. I didn't use the outside pieces that came with it, and just place them just centered on the 4x4 panel, and taped it in place, and then ran it through my Big Shot. Okay, so let's take a look at the finished one that I did. I've added a bow made with a seam binding ribbon that I dyed with just a purple marker. And then there's also a tag that is the same French lavender that I used on this card. And I noticed that there's not a whole lot of difference between the two, except that, well, yeah, I guess there really is, isn't there? I'm not sure which one I like better though. So I think either one works. I think they're both kind of pretty, so I don't think it matters. But I would use, for this card, I would use the milled lavender distress ink on my tag instead. And then it's just heat embossed with a sentiment from, let's see here, Flirty Frames. Oh, whoa, here we go. Sorry, from Flirty Frames. Say that 3 times fast. It is the Love Ya sentiment from that stamp set from Lawn Fawn. And then let's see, there's also a little flower and a leaf. The leaf is from the Fab Foliage. I just colored it with my Copics and glued it to the flower. And then the flower is from the Butterfly Blooms set from Paper Train Ink. So a whole bunch of different stamp sets for such a little bitty card. But it was fun to do, and I think it turned out really, really pretty. And filling up a butterfly or some other die cut with mini flowers works really well. All right, so let's move on to the next card. So the second card is this sweet little unicorn card, and the mini flower stamps are right here in the background, and with the addition of the distress inks. So let's take a look at this card. The first thing I did was cut the Scallop circle tag from Pretty Pink Posh, the larger one, and then used the one of my nesting circles from We Are Memory Keepers to cut out the middle of it. That made it much easier to stamp all the stamps, all the flowers onto the circle instead of, you know, trying to mask off the outside. So that was just a way to make this so much easier. The colors here are still this pink lemonade and celery from Fresh Ink, and the addition of, let's see, this is mint. That's such a pretty color. And I believe this is Pool, yes. And then a color box, Canary are the colors on this card. I used the same floral stamp from the Gilded from Paper Tray Ink. I'm going to slip this back in. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to use the distress ink first. The distress ink on there is cracked pistachio. And I'm just going to put it on the bottom portion of the circle. And that way it's a little bit like ground, and it will ground the unicorn just a little bit. And I'm also going to leave it light enough that I can see the colors, excuse me, I can see the colors of the flowers underneath it. And I'm going to make it just kind of offset a little bit, maybe this right side a little higher than the other. Okay, so once the blending is done with the distress ink, I'm going to slip it back into this little tag here and just go ahead and, like I did before, and put a piece of Scotch tape to hold it in place. Now I'm going to move on to the unicorn, It is one of the stamps from the Magical Unicorns from Pink and Maine. So cute. These are darling. I love them. Someone said that people need to quit using unicorns. No, not right now. I'm not going to quit yet. I'm not tired of them yet. I think they're still cute. Cute, cute. And this is a piece of Copic Express It cardstock. And I'm just going to stamp with a little bit of Memento ink. I'm just using Copic colors that match the colors that I used on the flowers. So I'm using Y13 and BG32 and RV21 as the main colors on my little unicorn. And then the body is the E40s, 40 through 43. Okay, and I'll just speed this up. There we go, just some simple Copic coloring, not really worrying about a whole lot, just getting the color on. Isn't he cute? I just think that's adorable. I love all the stripes and everything on it too. Cut it out with the dies that came with the stamp set. Isn't he cute? Okay, let's take a look at the rest of the card. This is a 4" by 5" card base cut from 120-pound cardstock. These flowers, as you can see, are a little bit bigger. They are from the Butterfly Blooms. You can see the bigger florals that are there. I used the greenery and the little flowers as well as the big one there. This one, no, not the 6th one, this one right here. And those same colors that are in the background of the tag. And then I've tied on some pink and white twine, and then the sentiment is done the same way as I did the butterfly card. This is the pink lemonade from the Fresh Ink, blended on, and then heat embossed the Hey There sentiment from Flirty Frames again. And it's the Hey There right there. So I think this is a really fun way. You could use this as a tag for a gift, or gosh, almost anything. You could add it to any kind of card, and any kind of little critter would look cute there. Or you could even use a sentiment on top of the pretty background. So there's several ways that you could use this idea as well. All right, so let's move on to the third card. So the third idea is to use these little mini flower stamps inside of stamps for decoration. Now, seriously, isn't this adorable? It's the cutest thing ever. Okay, so it's been stamped on Express It Copic cardstock with Memento ink, and the trick is to also stamp it on this Simon Says stamp masking paper, and then to cut out the pieces that you don't want flowers on and to cover them on the original picture. So for example, I don't want any flowers on this little mouse head. So I will start there, cutting that out, and then placing it onto the mouse. The setup for this takes a little bit of effort. It's not as easy as just, you know, stamping. It does take a bit of work to prep all of this and get it started, but I really think it was worth it. When I first started, I thought, oh, you know, I don't know. You know how that goes. But seriously, I really think that it's worth it. I forgot his little paw, so I'm going to have to cut that off. And then I'm going to just continue cutting out the little pieces and putting them on the card, and then I will be back. I'm putting on the last little mouse here. Get that covered up, including the little tea bag there. And I thought I would give a tip on these little tiny things, like that little tea tag right there. This is the one that's stamped on the masking paper. So I'm going to start cutting it, but then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to go ahead and start peeling it. The thing that's hard about it, but you can do it, but it's still a little bit difficult, is these little tiny things, getting it peeled completely off. And this masking paper isn't super sticky. You could use non-stick scissors if you wanted to, but for those little bitty ones, I find it easier just to go ahead and cut a little bit of it, but then go ahead and take off the masking paper and finish the cut. Okay, so all the little mice and little tea bags, the ladder, are all covered with the masking paper. And I can now start stamping the flowers. Before I do that, I wanted to show you, this stamp is from Little Darling's rubber stamps. I think they actually go by LDRS maybe. It's called Time for a Cuppa. And it's just darling. I had so much fun with this stamp. I want to use it again, so you may not have seen it for the last time. Adorable. All right, I'm going to start stamping the floral part of this. I'm using a little tiny flower from the Enveloper waffle flower stamps. So I'm starting with Pool Fresh Ink. I like this color a lot. It's bright and teal, which I like. And I'm just going to start laying in flowers. And I don't have to worry too much. I do want to stay away from the little, I probably should have masked that little portion of the teapot too. Didn't think about that. I should have done that. That would have made it a little bit easier, but oh well. I also keep handy, that's the reason I do this, I keep handy a little scrap piece of paper, because I never know when something like that might happen and I need to cover something up. So that's a great tip, is to keep, even though you've masked, you might want to keep, if you're like me, you might want to keep a scrap piece of paper handy. use my scrap piece of paper to kind of cover up the outside because I'm going to put some clouds on this, and I don't necessarily want my flower out here in the clouds. So that's another good reason to have a scrap piece of paper. That works really well. Clean this off and change to celery. To a little dot from the enveloper, and I'm going to use it to make a couple little dots here on the cup. That's all the floral stamping on the cups and teapots. Oh, nope, I missed the spout there, so I'll need to start there. I'll need to finish that. Now the other thing I did to the teapot was put in some dots with a let's see, R22 Copic marker. The saucer and the top rim, and this I colored with, let's see, a GOO and a BG32. Okay, so the sky is done with this scallop border from MFT stamps, this stitched scalloped edges. You can usually make some pretty good clouds with that. So I'm using some tumbled glass. One of the last things I did on the teapot was add a little bit of distress ink. You could leave it just like this and it would still look really cute, but it was kind of fun to add some really subtle little shading. It almost made the teapot look like it was a little bit distressed, which makes sense since this is distressed ink. But I'm using a spun sugar and this really skinny makeup brush. and just kind of touching here and there. I'm not even sure if you can see it in the video, but you can really see it in real life in the finished product. It just adds a little extra something that I think is really fun. And I really like how this little brush helps me get in just some small spots. The mice were colored with my, I guess, almost my favorite color combination for animals, the E40 through 43. They're just adorable. And the grass was just made by using three, let's see, the YG11, YG03, and YG23. And I just started with the lightest one, and I just went right over what I'd already colored and starting to make the grass. And I actually went over the colored mice as well. So I didn't do this until I'd colored the mice. Came in with that last darker color, the YG23, and just put in a little bit more. So the grass was really easy to make too. All right, so that is my last idea for using the little mini floral stamps. I hope you can use one of these 3 ideas on something that you create. Thank you for joining me. You can always find me at shushupaperart.com.